Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Each week, our hosts will be interviewing local, regional, and national business leaders to give you an inside peek into how they lead their business to success in the ever-competitive business climate.
Welcome to Monday Morning Coffee with Inside the Firm. Today I have a very special guest. Michaell Magrutsche is an Austrian-Californian multimedia artist, self-taught author, and creativity awareness educator with a unique perspective shaped by his neurodiverse upbringing. Michaell explores hidden contexts to bring awareness-based solutions in leadership, communication, and creativity. He emphasizes the values of creativity, healthy dialogue, and adaptability as inherent human superpowers, urging their prioritization in all systems. Michaell's work extends beyond art products, highlighting the limitless potential of creativity to unite humanity and elevate human potential. Michaell, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Lance.
You look a little stunned by that intro, but that's all you, bud. That's why I had you on the show, because you are a creative. I'm a creative. Many on the show are creatives. Our audience is largely designers. So I'm really interested to unpack a lot of the things you talk about on your bio with creativity, art, all of that. But before we get into that, tell us how you got here. Are you from a family of entrepreneurs? Are you the first? Where does that drive?
Entrepreneurs, yeah. As a nothing creative. My parents were fine meats like boar's heads, in Austria, Vienna, had restaurants and nothing. And I'm still, have to support every time I need to support myself. I have to do hospitality as a creative. You know how it is. I became what I am because I couldn't fit into any system. So I have zero education. Like later, I had to repeat grades.
Oh, wow.
I had to repeat grades, but in Europe, you have to stay. You're not getting pulled with. So I had to repeat, I think, fifth, sixth grade, seventh grade. I had to repeat those. So you know how that feels when you're the tall, big jump. And that actually forced me, because our intuition is survival. It's the survival is you bite your hand off to survive, and I was finding my solace in art creation. Particularly, I sold tapes out of my car. I was a DJ. I was a fashion show producer, advertising, television, early television, digital, and so on and so forth. And then I moved when I was 20 to America, because it was too systemic in Europe. And 40 years ago, it was easier here. It's now getting the same all over, because we're all connected to the internet, and all the rules and regulations become kind of similar.
Yeah, which is a bummer for sure, because I think as creatives and artists, we always I feel like we're natural contrarians. We try to buck the system in that kind of way. Let's talk about creativity.
Okay.
You said at one point, I was looking, researching you ahead of this podcast, and something about why we don't know anything about art and creativity. Why is it a mystery?
Because and this was the pivotal point for me, also to feel good being a human and being alive, and that was like after 50. So I was so worried about. I said, here, art is saving my life, is making me a human. And I know a lot of adolescents hear a film, see a movie, and don't kill themselves. So here, art and creativity is saving our lives. When we are in the artist community, there is a blueprint for humanity, which we totally are blind to. I was blind to it. It's not about gender, it's not about race, it's not about where you come from. If you can play that role in that theater piece, or you can paint, or you can do this, you're part of it, And I was part of it, and I couldn't believe that why 97 to 99% of artists existing on the poverty line in the world. It's not like in America they're rich and everywhere else. No, they're everywhere. I have a lot of friends of mine that live in cars. And I said, why is that when creativity and art has so much power? Because and this is how I come to be, because we're focusing on the product, which as an architect, we're focusing on a product. How many buildings can you build? I mean, there's one Frank Gehry or something, but there's not how many things you can create when people actually don't see the value in an architect. I mean, they want, something systemically relevant. So you have to make yourself as a creative systemically relevant, like Gary, and then everybody wants you because but not because of your form and shaping, and not because people feel better in your environment, but because you have the brand name. And system work on brands, and brands financial. All systems are based on financial principles, which are outdated because they create disharmony. They create imbalance. They're not contributing to the human potential to raise the human potential. They're actually holding it like it is to just support the life of systems.
Got it.
And I think it's all, we are creative, we are collaborative, we're creative, collaborative animals, creator animals of nature. That's why we are self-aware.
Got it. So, a lot of people are intimidated by art, just like the common folk are. I mean, people who don't have any art background, even if they're uneducated or educated about it. I mean, you're self-taught, right? A lot of artists a lot of the best artists are actually self-taught. I mean, so, but when I would say people that are not in that category, when they go to an art museum, they're just intimidated by the idea of even like, what am I going to do? Just stare around and look at this? So why do you think, I'm not sure incompetent is the word I would use for that. Why do we feel incompetent to talk about art? Why do we feel, I would say, intimidated? Why do you think people, if you were to buy into my language here, why do you think people, I think it's an intimidation thing.
I totally know it. Because systemically. It's systemically because you don't see art as a human-centric expression of a conversation. When I create a painting, let's say I'm putting green on, and I say, I feel green, and I feel that. So how do I feel it? My inspiration says green. And it can't be a pale green. It has to be a forest green. And the forest green is too dark. I need to lighten it so it become a Kelly green. And then I say, okay, what else? Red would be a real bright red. So I have to get the shades. So I have a conversation to bring that, whatever I create, into the physical. Because I'm not just saying red requires green, requires yellow. I'm just having a conversation what resonates with me, because I'm part of that, bringing it into the physical. The product is a symptom of that conversation. And the clearer that conversation is, the more you recognize yourself in that process, and something brings you to tears because you resonate with the almighty truth.
Okay, but why do you think that? So what you just said sounds perfectly intimidating to me. If I'm a regular person listening to this show with no art background, trained or untrained, the way you just described it is what I would describe as the intimidating part to lay folk.
Super. Because I thought you understand it, but you're not intimidated. I hope you're not
barely, just barely.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, because you are system relevant. I'm not system relevant.
Yeah.
So in the system, first of all, so when I was 30, I was intimidated to be an artist. I know a lot of all artists all around the world. They're very famous, and they feel uncomfortable saying they're an artist, because the word art is a systemic word, but in the human to explain it through language, art is creativity without a purpose. So I always go to Gary, because look at his buildings. That's not a purpose building. That is, the aesthetic overpowers the purpose, and obviously has to bring the purpose in. So art is different from creativity. Creativity is I'm going to create a better iPhone. I create a better sneaker. Art is I'm creating, I have no purpose for it. And in that conversation, systemically, that doesn't make sense. Systemically, it has to be built on a history that is recognized. So for me, I say art education is totally antiquated, because the art, what you learn in art school is established systemic art. And everybody's intimidated. If you come to me and say, Michael, I want to talk to you about statics, I'm saying, I'm like you, I'm intimidated. I have no clue. I haven't learned it. And that's a normal thing. But with art, because it's not even systemic, because static is nature made, understandable, make natural gravity and all this stuff made tangible so we can work with it. That's why we are self-aware. That's why we are creative animals. That's why we have to know this. That's why we have this conversation, because we are self-aware. I said, listen, I'm intimidated, you know, when this happens, and we grow in that process. You grow and I. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I wonder if it's a language issue. So what I mean by that is, I feel as if it's as simple as one of the, I think, the breakthroughs I had when I was getting into art, even in college, and just trying to, I took a few earlier art classes and stuff like that, but being able to, for instance, take girls on a date to an art museum, that's a big deal. They love that stuff.
It's the greatest deal. It's the greatest deal that you can get.
I have a literal formulaic date that I used to take ladies on at the Denver Art Museum from Daniel Liebeskin's work. But basically, I think the question is, and this is, I would always turn to the dates and I would say, so this is advice for any young man or any woman, actually, doesn't matter, person. If you're intimidated by the art, like if you're intimidated by going to the museum, I think the one question all you got to do is ask yourself when you're looking at these paintings or whatever the art is how does this make you feel? Right? Because it's tapping into how you feel. And then you just talk about it. Well, if I'm looking at Clifford Still painting, for instance, and it's one of those giant paintings that's all black and it has one streak of like orange on it. I took my kids 2 weekends ago over to Clifford Still here in Denver, and that's exactly the experience I gave them. I was like, okay, here, guys, how does this make you feel? And like, then there's different moods per painting and everything. It's really that simple as you're connecting to it. Am I way off base here? What do you think about that?
No, you're 100% right. Because what you said just now is we are 8 billion people. And we have senses. You know, we have our 5 senses, and the 6th sense is how we resonate with each other.
Yeah.
And when you see something, use your senses to see. And we have one language that goes for our 8 billion people, because if you and I start singing right now, every 8 billion people will understand it, unless they're deaf, but they will understand. If you and I make a drawing, the whole world will understand it. So we have a language that we systemize and saying, yeah, it has to be Asian art, it has to be mid-century or whatever. It is systemized. The word art is systemized, even though it's not, it's very, if you have no purpose, you make art. That's the essential thing. In any tribal, indigenous thing, you make art because it's pretty, it makes us feel, it has no purpose other than being an extension that makes you feel. Because I can love your stuff, which is an extension, or I don't understand it, but it still makes me feel. It still makes me feel. It doesn't fall into my preconceived notion what it should be, but it still makes me feel.
Yeah. You
did absolutely right. You did absolutely right with your kids. Absolutely right.
When you are systematic, when you use the word systematic, then I would like to just make sure I unpack that correctly then. Because I think now it's clicking for me when you use that word. Yeah. Are you using it in the sense of, like, for instance, art is art. Art is an extension and expression of ourselves. Our architecture falls into that realm. Anything creative, music, whatever. And then humans, we have this like innate problem with ourselves, like we have to categorize things. Is that what you mean by the systemization? Like it's all categorized?
No. The category, it is. And it isn't the categorization. The categorization is to become self-aware. The categorization is that I can, because I'm a creator animal like you,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also a collaborative animal. And because you need both creating and collaborating. And we are herd animal, we know that. So to make sense out of what we are able to create, we have to be self-aware that you, for example, says, listen, I want to make sure, because language is a system and it's too limited. Everything humans created is a system. Religion, politics, language, everything. And art is a higher realm because you can understand it everywhere. But our senses are even better than art, because I have done 300 interviews all over the world, and I plug in like you plug into me.
Mm-hmm.
And we are not conscious of that. See, the awareness that podcasts, why podcasts are so powerful, and we hit actually a higher number in America than Netflix. So more people listening because they want a human conversation that they can relate to with their five senses, not a systemic condensed conversation that is created by a team of 50 with the intent to hook you, to sell you, to do you. Humans are so hungry right now because all the systems are breaking down because they're outdated. They don't need to. I'm not an anti-system. We just need to be aware so we can update them, renew them, and make them human-centric, which they should be by design, by function. Why we're creating systems so that it helps humanity, not that humans have to submit to systems to make them survive.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of it's, just the fiat currency and the central banking system.
All the stuff, everything.
Yeah, exactly. I get where you're going with that. Yeah. So then I'm curious because how you would answer this one is that, like, okay, so you talked about globalization a little bit. You didn't use that word, but that's essentially what you were getting at, is like, okay, now we're all connected to the internet. Now we're all connected to this system and the way it operates and everything. And then you're also recognizing that the systems are breaking down. And I think by that, you probably mean that, we've never been like more highly polarized politically in the United States than we are. As a matter of fact, the world, I mean, you can see these systems just want to kind of start to fall apart. I'm with you there. What do you think will emerge then, especially with AI? Like, I don't know if I'm throwing too much at you, but like, it feels like we're in a cocoon and something's going to emerge, doesn't it?
Yeah. And the thing is, AI is the same thing and we have to comprehend creativity through that. We have to comprehend what happened. You remember when we got computers, when we got cell phones.
Yeah.
Our output is now 8 times as much as before per one person. So the computer didn't give us more time or money, because I don't have 8 times more money since the computer, or 5 times or 3 times as much, since the computer. You don't either. I have not met anybody that has made that, unless they use them very creatively, the computer, the system, like Elon, and Jeff, are master chess players in a Monopoly game.
Yeah.
But in general, to use on a human level, we became better worker bees. And AI is going to make us the best worker bees for systems. But it is not about systems that they are in a state like they are, and it just throw technology in them and make them more efficient. It's about lifting the human potential. 60% of Americans live paycheck by paycheck. That's not lifting the human potential. I'm not saying you should be rich, but if you have to worry, you can be really creative if you're constantly worried. Here and then, ambiguity is good, but to be constantly in ambiguity, in stress, in dis-ease, to appease what isn't your job. I have the big luck after 50 to realize what life is about, and by separating human-centric versus systems relevant, I got that wisdom. I didn't do more meditation. I don't have more money and nothing. Literally from 1 month to the other, I become happier to wake up, happier to go to sleep, have ambiguity, handle it. I'm not stressed. Whatever happens. If I have no money tomorrow, that's fine. something, I will have enough knowledge that I know how to handle it. The same way you said, you're so nice, you said, can I throw this question? I said, you can throw any question at me. There's nothing off the table, because I'm not afraid of embarrassing myself. I just said, I'm not good at static.
Yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things you also keep bringing up too is that you're recognizing poverty in a couple of different levels. Okay, 95% of artists are in poverty. 65% of Americans, I think you just said something about are near poverty.
Paycheck, paycheck. Yeah.
Paycheck to paycheck. Yep, and you're absolutely right about that. And so I mentioned the banking system, the central banking system, which basically controls our lives, because they just have us in the seesaw of interest rates, and then they flood the market with a bunch of cash, and then people feel like they're rich, and then they restrict the cash, and then we're poor again, and it's just this huge seesaw back and forth. So I'm curious, it sounds like, I think we're headed towards sort of post-capitalism in the not even in the like real sense of capitalism where it's a free market. I would say it's like post-cronyism, because there's so much cronyism in the world with governments and big business getting in bed together and basically just kind of being a big shoe, a metaphorical shoe on our back, or a boot rather. What do you see the future as? Like, what would that system? I know we'll have some kind of system, like we talked about, like there's no way around this. What do you think the post-cronyism, post-capitalism system looks like, to where we can really make the human spirit flourish?
It's getting clearer and clearer for us in awareness. If we are conscious, it's a different thing. But in our awareness, it's clear that the beggar and the billionaire have one major problem: the lack of money. Both. Because the billionaire wants to keep it. That's a lack. If you want is lack. So if you want something, you basically saying, I have a lack. And so you want money, and the beggar wants money. And when humanity striving force is money, that they have a lack of money, because the financial system, as I said, is outdated, because it continuously creates a lack of us. That's why we all feel not good enough. That's why we all feel we can't do this, or it's too much. Oh, I want children. Oh, I can't have any. And if I can have one, that's completely against nature. That is completely nature. If I don't know that I can raise a human being, and and it's dependent on money, that's a major against nature. That is, it's our nature. We are part of nature. See, the thing is, there's nature, which we are part of. There is humans, that we're in the middle, and we are creator collaborative animals, like I said. So we can create a habitat which over generations we inhabit. We're not hanging out on the savannah in a tent. We're hanging out in New York, in Singapore, in Hong Kong. We live in the systems that we created. We are the gods of systems. And in that, our misconception is, we can be gods of nature too. We can just screw around. I mean, we can just have a thing that we don't have, kids in China. We just have one kid, and then what is valuable, more systemically relevant, a male. Yeah. So now there's 40 million males running around having no woman.
Yeah.
And they're coming into America and all over the world, not because for work. They have enough work in China.
Yeah.
They come in for a woman. And nature overrides it. You have no chance to fight nature, which we saw in COVID. You push habitats together. Everybody wants to survive. And the viruses are the first ones. I want to survive. I jump onto a human. Yeah. I alter and jump on things. We adapt. And we adapt. The fact that we came to this place is the downfall that we're not realizing adaptation. It's a superpower. We can adapt to anything. Look at North Korea. We adapt to it. And then North Korea, I mean, I'm just saying this as a thing. Now they can't even hold the people from killing themselves, because they have tried systemically to get what they want from their own fear of irrelevance. From their own fear. every millionaire, all the financial thing is a lack that they themselves feel. That the bank, that we feel themselves. It's all based on a lack. Because even if you hit the first, what we chase is fulfillment, basically.
Yeah.
We hit the first quarter. What do we, when you hit the first quarter, I think a short time of fulfillment, you did it, reaffirms your worthiness, and the next day you have to start for the second quarter. So you can't get out of lack for being fulfilled and positive. And that lack drives everything. But in nature, we have total abundance.
Yep.
That doesn't mean you will live in the 5-star hotel. That doesn't mean you have always the best food. That doesn't mean you can't get killed. But it is a harmony. Everybody, when two wolves fight each other, they sense each other and sense the dominance. And so, sorry, I thought can hit you, kill you, Lance, or I can establish myself. Mm-hmm. And then I see, oh, you're stronger, and I give up. I'm not going to fight to the death with you. A lion doesn't kill all the gazelles in the savannah that he has the next 2 years has safety and feels he has something to eat. He doesn't know what he has to eat tomorrow, but he knows somehow he finds it.
Yeah.
We have no trust, and then system sells us the trust. So with the lack comes the trust, because we are all in an anxiety mode. And the only thing is our awareness and creativity that can get us, because we are the gods of system. The creatives can change the systems to make them human-centric, where it's about what the system was built in the first place. And that's why creativity, I say creativity is the first superpower. Human dialogue, what we have right now, basically I'm living, and everybody that listens to this episode, that's the second one. Because we both grow by you asking me question or be quiet. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. We both grow. And the third is adaptability, because you and I can adapt to each other, that we can have that conversation.
Yeah. What would you say to somebody who thinks they aren't creative and they're listening to this? Because I hear that a lot. People I'm not creative. And I just don't buy it. I think everybody.
I know. No, it's a human superpower because I said, how do you fix the table setting? Your grandmother fixes table setting like this. Your aunt does it like this. Your wife does it like this. Your child does it like that. Mm-hmm. You're constantly making creative choices.
Always. Yeah. We're running up on the half hour here, Michaell, and this has been a very interesting conversation. I think you're a very unique guest. That's exactly why I had you on. I've got 2 questions that I ask every guest at the end here. First one is, knowing what you know now, and if you could go back in time to when you first started doing what you do now, what is one piece of advice you give yourself?
That I give everyone: awareness. If you're you are alive, you exist in nature. You exist. And your existence is proof of your worthiness.
Beautiful.
That's what NC system and human relevant. And we can do this anytime, Lance, if you want to do it, dive deeper in something.
Yeah. This has been great, Michaell. I really appreciate your time. And I do feel like we just kind of scratched the surface with everything. Yeah. This is a lot deep. There's a lot deeper than I thought we were going to go today in terms of just some societal issues to talk about. So if people want to follow up with you, find you, follow you, keep up with everything you're doing, I know you have a podcast. Where can people find and follow you?
I only have a 30-second podcast because I'm so neurodiverse. It would, and there's people like you that do a much better job than me. I know my weakness. That's why I can lead.
Yeah.
So anyway, go to michaellm.com, Michaell with 2 L's, m.com, michaellm.com. And there's everything. You can connect LinkedIn, social media, my paintings, my music, my books, everything is my podcasts, guest appearances, everything is up there.
Beautiful. Michaell, thanks so much. We wish you nothing but the best and hopefully more success in the art world.
Thank you.